The first time Aaron saw the house, he almost walked past it. It looked ordinary enough from the street, a narrow two-story place squeezed between taller buildings that seemed to lean in as if trying to crush it. The paint was faded, the windows clouded with dust, but nothing about it screamed danger. His aunt had left it to him after she vanished without explanation, and since he had nowhere else to go, he convinced himself this could be a fresh start. Inside, the house felt colder than the outside air. He flicked the light switch and watched a bulb flicker weakly overhead. The hallway stretched longer than he expected, running deeper into the house than the footprint on the street made sense for. He paused but brushed off the feeling, telling himself old houses settle in strange ways. His boots echoed on the wooden floor, and he caught a faint smell of earth, like soil soaked after a heavy rain. He explored room by room. Each time he opened a door, there was an odd moment where the space inside didn't match what he had imagined. A room that should have been small felt too wide. A closet felt deeper than it should be. The kitchen walls seemed off by inches, but when he measured them with his steps, the numbers never matched. He told himself he was tired from the drive. As night fell, the house grew darker faster than it should have. Shadows pooled in corners and stretched across the floor as if trying to reach him. Aaron set his backpack down in what he guessed was the living room. The couch was still there, covered in a sheet, as if someone had left in a hurry. He pulled the sheet off and found claw-like scratches on the back of the wooden frame, long and shallow, like something had dragged across it repeatedly. He found a stack of notebooks in a drawer near the hallway. His aunt had always been private, but these were filled with frantic writing. Lines overlapped, words were crossed out and rewritten, and dates were scattered with no pattern. The first centenn. The hallway didn't change at first glance, but Lena felt it before she saw it. The air pressed on her skin a little differently, as if the temperature had dropped in one place and risen in another. She stood still, trying to notice what her eyes kept missing. The walls weren't straight. They leaned, almost too slightly to register, but enough to make the shadows slide across the surface like slow waves. She lifted the flashlight and the beam seemed to bend, a subtle arc toward the deeper end of the corridor, like gravity had been nudged off-center. Noah stepped in beside her and saw it too. He didn't speak, just gave a small nod that said keep going. They walked carefully now, keeping close to the left wall. Their footsteps sounded normal for a while, rubber soles on old wood, until one step echoed. Only one. Lena turned and tapped the same plank with her toe. No sound. Another step forward. Echo again. Noah leaned down and pressed his ear to the floor. He whispered that something was beneath them, something hollow and wide. Lena didn't want to ask what that meant, so she kept walking. The hallway narrowed, then widened, then narrowed again, even though they were moving in a straight line. They tried using the tape measure again, but the laser refused to reach the far wall. It blinked uncertainly, then flashed an error. Noah swore under his breath. Lena tried to record the reading with his phone, but the screen stayed black even though the device was on. She could feel it vibrate occasionally, receiving notifications, but it refused to light up. The air smelled faintly of wet dust. They came to the spot where Lena swore the hallway should end. They had walked far enough along what should have been the upstairs interior wall. Her measurements from the outside told her this corridor couldn't exist. She raised her flashlight. The hall stretched on. Farther than it had in part 1. Farther than it had 10 minutes ago. Noah said they should turn around and go back to the. Lena kept her hand around Noah's wrist even after the darkness settled, because she knew if she let go she would lose him in less than a second. The dark wasn't empty. It felt thick, like cloth pressed against her eyes. She tried lifting her free hand in front of her face, but she couldn't tell if it was an inch away or a mile. Noah whispered her name, but the sound came from somewhere behind her even though he was still holding her. She asked him to keep talking so she could follow his voice. He said something again, but this time the word stretched in a strange way, as if the sound had to travel through water before reaching her. She tugged his hand to pull him closer. His fingers tightened around hers. At least she thought they did. Lena dug in her pocket for the backup flashlight. When she clicked it on, the beam crawled forward only a few feet before dissolving. The light didn't illuminate anything beyond a narrow circle, but it was better than nothing. Noah looked pale and confused in the glow. Lena saw fear in his eyes he was trying hard to hide. They moved slowly toward the door they had found earlier. The walls around them seemed closer than before, their shadows deeper, their angles slightly changed. Noah placed his hand against the wall and felt a faint vibration, as if something moved behind the plaster. He pulled away quickly. Lena tried the doorknob again. It turned with less resistance this time. The door slid open into a silent room. Her flashlight revealed the corner of a table and a lamp that wasn't plugged in. The air smelled clean, unnaturally clean, like disinfectant with no human scent. They stepped inside and closed the door. The breathing sound outside the room faded, but didn't disappear. Noah asked if she noticed how every room in the house felt like it was waiting for something. Lena didn't answer. She was staring at the walls. They were bare, smooth, freshly painted, but wrong. Not uneven or cracked, just too perfect. A kind of perfectio. Lena didn't turn around when she heard the footstep behind them. She only tightened her grip on Noah's wrist and moved faster. The flashlight shook in her hand and the beam jittered across the walls, catching strange angles and long shadows that shifted even when she and Noah were still. Noah whispered that the step didn't sound human. Lena already knew. Human footsteps didn't echo upward, like the sound had climbed the walls before touching the floor. She tried to keep her breath steady, but the air felt thick again, like the house was folding around them. Noah tried to pull her to the left, toward a narrow shift in the corridor, but she kept going straight. She didn't trust any new openings. The house kept inventing shortcuts that weren't shortcuts. Another footstep rang out. This one closer. Noah looked back for a second, then regretted it. He didn't say what he saw, but his face drained of color and he pushed Lena forward at a pace just short of running. He whispered one word. Faster. They moved quickly but quietly, their steps barely touching the ground. The hallway stretched ahead of them like a throat swallowing them whole. Lena's shoulder brushed the wall and she felt it vibrate again. Something inside it pulsed once, like a heartbeat. She pulled her hand away and wiped it on her jeans even though there was nothing on her skin. Noah suddenly stopped. Lena bumped into him and almost dropped the flashlight. The beam revealed why he froze. The hallway split into 3 paths that hadn't existed before. One led straight. One veered left into a tight, slanted passage. The third opened right into darkness that didn't look like any darkness they had seen yet. It was thicker. Opaque. Heavy. Noah whispered that the house was trying to make them choose. Lena said the house had been choosing for them since the first hallway changed size. Another footstep behind them made the floor tremble. This time they both felt breath on their backs, cold and damp like the air from